You've got to love the American democracy and how it works. Have you heard the speech by Joe Biden conceding after that emotive election? And we really dream for a day after an election, an incumbent will make such a concession speech. I think such helps the country heal very fast. But we are optimistic. We are heading there. We are not yet there, but we are not badly. We are not badly off. Even though our elections are still, elections are still something else. Good to listen to this speech by Biden first. Let's start there.
I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, and protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been a historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans.
And I love the fact he's saying, it is not only cool when I win, both when I win and when I lose. An American Constitution. And he has, congratulated the electoral officials for the work well done. Even though that is the losing side, I think really makes our democracy work. In fact, I can always say this. Even if we cannot fix our campaigns, and we still make our campaigns tribal-based as we want them to be, but let's fix IEBC so that we have a commission that is credible by all. By that, we shall end elections commissions and post-election squabbles. If everyone trusts on the referee, that is the game changer. I think, so we leave politicians to it. Even in America, the elections are equally emotive, just like us. For them, they have two parties. You're the Democrat or Republican. I was looking social media and the tweets, especially during that election time. What wanted to Siena? It's also very divisive. But look at after that election. Calm. I think you got to love it. Immediately, Biden made that speech. President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Arap Ruto, had a conversation with U.S. Secretary for the States, Anthony Blinken, on the fate of the Haiti mission, which the country, Kenya, had really raised some concerns about. They were really asking what is the fate of that mission. And this is what President Ruto shared. I have had a constructive conversation with the U.S. Secretary for State, Anthony J. Blinken, on the Kenyan-led multinational security support mission in Haiti. We discussed the transition of the mission into a UN peacekeeping operation to enhance the capability of the mission to help stabilize Haiti. I need to say this. The urgency of now changing that US-backed mission to a UN peacekeeping mission, that urgency has been triggered by the win of Donald Trump 2 days ago. It is what has caused that urgency, even though it is something that was been on table for some time now, so something starting new. But I believe that even by the time the Biden administration was also thinking about taking it full UN peacekeeping mission, they knew of uncertainty that would be there, of course, after that election. And probably, if Democrats would have won, probably Kamala Harris, there would be no hurry. But because of that win by Trump, they know for sure that if they are not careful with it, that mission might collapse. Remember, the mission ran into headways at some point because if you check these two stories, Republicans had blocked Biden from releasing funds, or rather from supporting that mission. And Biden had to use sweeping presidential powers to facilitate that mission in Haiti. So it has never been rosy that it is just backed by the US. And that is why I'm seeing the mission ran into some headways. And I think they are really making it into that. I've seen the phone conversation. There is another tweet by the president still saying, Kenya and the United States are continuously working together to enhance our collaboration to ensure improved governance. This includes the fight against corruption and provision of capacity building to make our security institutions more efficient, effective, and accountable in the discharge of their mandate. In a telephone call with the U.S. Secretary for State Anthony Blinken, this evening we discussed this pertinent issue and agreed on how our two countries will work together. Now, this call was strategic for President Ruto. I've always been asking, why is it that when an African president have a phone conversation with the U.S. Secretary for State, you will not see Anthony Blinken posting about it. But you'll see an African president, especially President Ruto, will always be the one to talk about it until you wonder, so why is the US not saying, I called President Ruto, we had a phone conversation with President Ruto and we said blah, blah, blah. Is that call only relevant to Kenya and not to the US? But my answer is also here that William Ruto needed that because there have been a lot of uncertainty. And I think political pundits had argued that Trump win is going to trash so many agreements between Kenya and the US. There was a post by even Meg Whitman saying that he was working under discretion of Biden. And so it will be interesting to see how it works. Someone was telling me Meg is actually a Republican. Well, of course, probably we'll look at that. But I love American democracy. It's a bit different, even though they've also come from a very emotive election. But the transition is a bit very decent. The transition was in process to UN peacekeeping mission, but it had to be fast-tracked just because of that. When the Haiti PM visited Kenya, he actually complained of financial challenges that were facing that mission. And of course, that is the greatest challenge that that mission is facing.
Well, as you know, in terms of context, Haiti is facing one of the worst crises in its history. 80% of the capital is surrounded and controlled by gangs. 600 people are displaced. About 5% of the population can no longer go home. Half the population is food insecure. 70% of our health infrastructure have collapsed. Women are being raped and abused in a violent manner. The situation poses both a humanitarian, a development, and a security threat.
For Cornell, despite appreciating Kenya's invaluable role in restoring order, He said the mission is facing gross underfunding.
The frustration is not only with the financing of the force, which in my view has been delayed for too long. The level of resources required to actually ensure that we can support the Haitian people are really insignificant when you compare it to the other expenditures that are happening worldwide.
So welcome home, my friend.
Kenyan troops, even if this mission is going to change to a fully UN-backed peacekeeping mission, that transition is not going to be very seamless. It might not be as smooth. And I foresee a situation where our troops might be forced back in the country. I think that was in June, there was a United Nations General Security Council meeting. And one of the envoys raised her voice while acknowledging that the mission had made some tremendous steps. And of course, we agree the mission has really it has made some great success here and there. We cannot rub it off and say it has failed completely. When you listen to speeches by our soldiers, I listened to one when the president was there. Let's just get a snippet of that.
Other countries back then walikuwa kwa mission, lakini kuna mali hapa inaitwa Delmas na kuna Solai. Kwa history Kenya, hata ukiuliza the Jamaicans here, yes, kuanzia vita itokee, hakuna siku ameshajaribu kufika ngome ya Delmas na Solai. But Kenya afande tumevunja hiyo. Sawa, tumevunja hiyo. Kitu ya pili, mimi aman operator. Operator nimefanya advanced tactical rural and urban operation na HA ya US.
Now, they've really made some tremendous progress, even though it has had its fair share of challenges. That envoy, there was an envoy who spoke about financial challenges because some member countries of the UN who had pledged, or rather were under obligation to support that mission, were yet to submit their contribution towards the mission.
And schools. I remain deeply disturbed by indiscriminate violence and grave abuses perpetrated by armed gangs against children. Equally worrisome is the prevalence of threats and attacks against human rights defenders, journalists, and members of the judiciary, many of whom have been forced to limit or stop their work or even to flee the country. In my discussions with Prime Minister Kony, I transmitted the commitment of the United Nations to continue supporting Haiti in line with national priorities, taking into account the new context marked by enhanced cooperation with OAS and CARICOM. Within its mandate and this new momentum, BINU will continue to support the transitional authorities in key areas that include elections, constitutional reform, police development, enhancement of political dialogue and justice, as well as community violence reduction, to name a few. BINU is redirecting and redefining priorities in support of the new governance structure of this Haitian-led and owned transition. As elections are at the core of the objectives set forth by the new transitional authorities, the possibility to strengthen BINU electoral expertise could be considered. As the MSS continues deploying, the establishment of a coordination mechanism among national authorities, the MSS, the UN in Haiti, and other partners will be critical to promote complementarities, exchange information, and devise effective communication strategies. I would like to express my appreciation to Member States' efforts ensuring the implementation of Security Council Resolution 2699 and commend Kenya's willingness to lead the multinational security support mission. I would also like to appeal to all members to ensure the multinational security support mission receives the sustained financial support that it needs to succeed. Turning to the humanitarian situation, it continues to worsen. There are 578,000 internally displaced persons, a 60% increase since March 2024. Rates of sexual violence and abuse remain troubling. only 20% of health facilities are operating normally. Despite being faced with access constraints over the last few months, as you know, the United Nations and its partners have continued to deliver across the country. Disappointingly, the 2024 humanitarian response plan is only 24.3% funded. Mr. President, Security Council Resolution 2699 authorized a strengthened police component in Benue, though the financial situation in the organization with the hiring freeze prevented us from moving forward with scaling up the police and corrections area, and the security situation that unfolded since 29 February further exacerbated this situation. In this new momentum for Haiti, as we move forward, it is also an opportunity to reinvigorate Benue and reposition its role in the current context. As the multinational security support mission deploys, strengthening the human rights area in Benue to be able to provide the necessary support and monitoring to a compliance with the human rights due diligence policy is fundamental. Resolution 2699 mandates the multinational security support mission to establish a human rights oversight mechanism.
So that is what you're saying. Kenya has a huge, I think I did that story some time back, and that's why you can see it has some headlines. I've just plucked it from a podcast that I did sometimes in the past. So it has really made, it's really getting into financial challenges, and that move has been triggered by that. But then, I strongly believe Kenya cannot commit its men and women on this mission with the withdrawal of America. There is, while we want to do it, but it might not be very, very effective. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our videos. Thank you very much for supporting our podcasts. We do this just because of your support. And I also want to urge you to support by subscribing. We're heading to 100,000. Subscribing does not cost anything. You just need to click that notification red bell there, and by that time, if you're ready, you are watching even your phone or your laptop or your desktop, it will subscribe if you put your email. And it does not, I may not, on my end, I cannot even access your email. I cannot access you. I can only see you've subscribed by your name, lakini email yako hata siwezi pata. I know some people have really been raising questions about that. But the advantage here is when we do videos, sometimes you might not have taken time to maybe to search. But even in the comfort of your office, when you're on your laptop, you'll just get a notification. The Bold has published video XYZ. Then from there, you can click and make sure you don't skip any video, because this time we really do quality analysis away from the trending topics like Gachagua impeachment and that. Now this is time for the real analysis. Hapo nyuma, for the last 1 month, we've been talking one poor topic about Gachagua and this and that. Now we are going full blown, because now we don't have any other trending issue. Why Kenya cannot commit its men and women on this Haiti mission? I am seeing 3 reasons. US is the leading intelligence provider in that mission. And this mission is, apart from, I think, in my own assessment, looking at, if you read at the terrain on Haiti, it's 50% facilitated by on-time intelligence. You need to know, Kenyans are foreigners. Some people say it was just a tourism mission. It's just a security tourism. But all that, any action, any step that Kenyan troops are taking, or another person taking there, has to be led by the intelligence, because you need to know that these are gangs that have entrenched themselves. These are gangs that they're so much familiar with the terrain in Haiti, and they're the ones that they know better in terms of that area. So US was providing intelligence and the equipment and the vehicles that were needed, and the guns and all that are needed. But if they withdraw, UN peacekeeping mission is a bit more different, and the reason why I'm telling you, the uptake, the transition might not happen very fast. I was just looking at the features of UN peacekeeping mission. Protection of civilians. So protocols for protections of civilians has to be developed. There is peace building in the process of transforming state of war into a state of peace. Child protection. UN peacekeeping missions include personnel trained in child protection. Now look at the spectrum needed. Consent of the parties, all the consent by both the government and the gangs. Impartiality. UN peacekeeping missions are guided by the principle of impartiality. Non-use of force. Missions are guided by principle of non-use of force except in self-defense and defense of the mandate, and political and peace processes. Now, that tells you that it might not be easy to transition very fast, and that is why I believe Kenya might consider withdrawing. The other is Kenya postured this as a philanthropy, but we don't have any shilling we are putting in it. I remember when it started when Mutua was the Foreign Affairs CS. He said that our brothers and sisters miles away cannot suffer while we're just comfortable in Kenya, and it was packaged to the public as some charity program that Kenya is doing there. But remember, we don't have any input we can do. So if US troops withdraw, then there is no need of leaving our boys and our men and women there to face the troubles. Haiti Mission Fund kitty in the UN is relatively weak. That kitty that was formed, there's a kitty that was already formed, but the UN members countries that are supposed to contribute some, I think some 2 million euros or something towards it, and that response has been low, and that is why I believe that probably the news from US really needs to trick the president just to return our troops here. We also have more pressing problems like the banditry in the North Rift. So much that our troops can still be of relevance to us. Thank you.